Welcome to Born on the Bayou Sports, a Houston sports show made for Houstonians by Houstonians. Join Tim Costello and Scott Barzilla every week as they break down the latest in Houston Astros, Rockets, and Texans news. Tim's a former minor league broadcaster, and Scott has written 2 books on the Baseball Hall of Fame. Yeah, if Javier could get it figured out, it would make things a lot easier because he was that guy everybody was counting on this year to be a Cy Young candidate, take that big step forward and help anchor this rotation with Fromber.
Since he's come to Houston, you can look at the development of guys like Carlos Correa defensively, Jeremy Pena defensively. I mean, you can Alex Bregman's, certainly I think a better than average third baseman.
And now you're putting teams in 3rd and 8, 3rd and 7, 3rd and 9. Now here comes Will Anderson. Pin back your ears, let's go. So if you're Bayou born and bred, or just like spending time in the H, sit down, relax, and stay Houston strong. Whoa, welcome all my friends to the show that was not as quick on the draw as he usually is. My, oh my, that's my bad. Scotty boy, how we doing today?
Yeah, doing all right. We went out and played some golf today. So, I had one of those rounds. I don't know if you've ever had one of these rounds, Tim. My ball never actually physically went in the golf hole.
Just all gimmies and picking up?
All gimmies pick up.
That's an interesting round. I've been getting out a little bit more myself lately. It's nice to enjoy the membership. How'd you play, Scott?
Well, shot a 92. So, with about probably 4 or 5 3-putts. So, you have that. I measure my golf rounds these days in golf balls, plus or minus. Ended up with exactly the same number of golf balls that I started with. Now, obviously, it weren't the same balls, but I found a couple of Titleists, lost a couple of top flights. So I think by and large, it's a good
That's
day.
a good trade.
That's a good day.
Yeah. What are you doing playing top flights? You got yourself some nice clubs. At least get some Kirklands or something.
Well, they were gifts from Ann for Father's Day. So, kind of have to use them. Now, my question is not the opening question, but we found a golf ball called Trust. Have you heard of the Trust ball?
I have not. I don't know if I have a lot of trust in the Trust brand.
Well, it was. I did not play it myself. One of my partners played it as a water ball, and he said it was like hitting a rock. So I guess not a lot of trust there.
I guess I do. We didn't say we had an opening question yet, but I am going to steal it, Scott. I think I do have an opening question for us this week. How far, or what's the farthest you've gone or craziest you've done to get a ball? Like on the course, at what length have you gone? We're looking back, you're like, that one might have been a little bit too far.
This is not a personal one. This is more of I was in the group when this happened. We were in a group with my uncle, who I will just say hit a foul ball down the left field line. And it went out of bounds, over a road, and into somebody's backyard. And he went out and played. It was a par 5. He played a 5-iron to get back to the fairway. And, then I don't think he hit the green, but he was able to. Good for him, right?
That's something else. I got to think that person did not think they'd have people playing 5-irons out of their front yard when you live on the other side of the road from the course.
I would say, I don't know if I've told this story before. My favorite story, you've played Bay Oaks, right?
I have a number of times.
So, the little, the first par 3 on the backside.
It's 3, isn't it?
No, the second par 3 on the back. I'm sorry.
Oh, on the back. I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, the short one towards the. Okay, yeah. Short par
kind of
3.
a little miniature dog leg.
Yeah.
My sister held her volleyball. She was the head volleyball coach at Clear Lake High School, so she would have like a booster club tournament every year. And it was me and my uncles, and I was playing to about a 10 at the time. And I don't think any of my uncles were playing even to a 30. So it's a 4-man scramble, and it was basically A, D, D, D. And so my uncle hits one. You know how they had like the stone tee markers?
Uh-huh.
He hit one about 2 inches off the ground, a screamer, hits the marker, bounces over, goes over our head, ricochets, misses a plate glass window from behind the hole by an inch, bounces off the side of the pool, and then comes back on the tee box. And I'm sitting there thinking, if he had broken that window, the homeowner would have been like, I bought my home behind the hole. How in the hell does this? And of course, we had a crowd there watching, so it was that much more embarrassing.
Yeah, not a good look, Scott. Not a good look. I've had a couple rough ones trying to get my ball back. Um, one, you come out completely covered in chiggers. I'm a hairy guy on my legs, and so just picking those sons of bitches after digging around in the high grass, you realize I'm done with that. Um, I had an incident the other day playing with my father-in-law. We're walking down the fairway, and there's a guy playing. I guess we're on like 15, and at this course, it's like number 3 hole backs up to us. There's a river or a crevasse filled with water in between, and he had gone to try and get his ball, whatever, and had set his cart right there, his push cart, but forgot to put the parking brake on.
Oh no!
And as he's like finally got everything set up, he goes to hit his shot. Cart goes into the water. So now this guy shedding shoes, shedding socks, rolling up his pants, wading in, trying to grab his clubs. So yeah, that's probably one of the worst I've seen. But we also have a deep gorge on our course on number 8 that has warning signs that people have died going in there to get balls before. And my buddy Roger goes in every week to get a fistful.
My favorite is obviously you remember back from your youth how I used to work the HGA tournaments that you sometimes played in. So I was working one at Quail Valley. Did you ever play out there?
Top 3 for me out there.
So I think it was number 17 was a par 3. If that rings a bell.
Yeah, face the road if I remember correctly.
Well, it had water, it had a huge lake on the left-hand side, right?
Yep.
And we had reports of alligators.
Oh, there were definitely gators there. There's not reports. There were fucking gators there.
Well, we had reports that day of gators that had been appeared. And so we had this guy who I think ended up shooting like a 124. And so he hits one on the edge of the water and he's taking off the shoes and he's like, I'm going to play this thing. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Just take the penalty stroke. So I don't want to be here while you get your leg chopped off by a gator just so you could shoot a 122 rather than a 124.
Good old Chubbs.
But the question I was going to ask is, on the positive end, what's the best shot you can remember ever playing?
Kind of hard to narrow to one. Most of mine, I feel like, are escape shots. One specifically, in the last 3 or 4 years, this random guy gets paired with my buddy Roger and I, and without knowing anything about me, just asked if I wanted to play for money. And I've seen him play the range. I've seen him give lessons. I knew exactly what he was. And he's just wants to play straight up, no strokes, nothing. I said, okay. So I'm 4 up through 4, and I'm on 5, and I miss, and I'm in the woods, and I'm like 160 out. I've got a window out laterally, and then it's like a 90-degree yard, like a 90-degree to the hole from there. I hit a slice 6-iron, like a low slicing 6-iron out of that window to like 10 feet and made the putt for birdie. And it was one of the best fucking feelings of my entire life, is just to see this tiger-esque fucking swooping motherfucker. And then my buddy on the same hole accidentally played this guy's ball. So then like he had to like put it back and go hit his ball again. And his mental fucking was shattered. He lost 9 of 9 holes and then handed me a 20 because he said he was going to lose the back 9 too, and walked off the course.
Now, today we had a poor guy that played with us, and he would have what we would charitably call as a foul tip off the tee.
Okay. And
we're just like, hey, it's a strike, but you got another whack at it. You just tee it back up, have another pitch. No, when my best shot probably is playing out at Sasha Harbor. My two best shots actually both happened there. So Harbor Nine. You remember the Harbor Nine?
They're all a nightmare to me, Scott. That course is my personal nemesis.
So that number 5 hole where you have the water in front, you basically lay up off the tee.
Okay.
I'm about 105 out.
I know what you're talking about. It's like you could drive it if you absolutely fucking nut it, but it's safer to just lay it up short because there's trees and stuff behind it.
And so I canned it from 105. So that was nice. And then I hit, I think, a drive probably longer than you've ever hit on number 8 on the South 9, that par 5.
Mm-hmm.
Hit a 400-yard drive.
That same hole is where someone pissed his pants in the high school tournament.
Yeah, 400-yard. Now it was slightly cart path aided.
Like, you don't say.
Fucking thing. The whole fucking thing. So I'm in the trees. I'm 90 out, and of course, I back then I was able to hit the ball pretty high, so I got it, over the trees and on the green in 2, and I think I 2-putted for birdie. But that was that's the height of my career. But speaking of heights of careers here, Tim, talking about our Astros being on a bit of a heater. It is currently 3-1 as we speak. So looks like they will sneak out of Toronto with a win if they get one more out. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions here, Tim. Christian Javier has got up to 75 pitches on his last rehab start. So he is theoretically available. So would you rather have Mike Burrows or Christian Javier?
Mike Burrows.
Okay. Would you rather have Tatsuya Imai or Christian Javier?
Imai.
Would you have a Tung or Christian Javier?
Maybe Javier there, but it's close because Tang has come off the heater he was on a bit.
Although he had a good outing the last one.
He did.
Would you rather? I think Von Way is the next guy off. Would you rather have Von Way in the bullpen or? Well, you also have Bobby Abreu. That's, I guess.
I'd rather keep Van Way than Abreu.
Would you rather have Abreu or Javier?
Right now, Javier, right?
So then we start going on the other side. Would you rather have Braden Shoemake or Bryce Matthews?
Shoemake.
Would you rather have Lamont Wade or Bryce Matthews?
Probably Lamont Wade right now.
Okay. Last one. This is the hard one. Would you rather have Nick the Stick or Bryce Matthews?
Bryce, I guess.
Then you have Raymel Delgado. Would you rather keep him around? Or
yes.
So I raise all these points because, I think Lance McCullers is maybe 2 or 3 weeks away, from realistically being an option. So I don't even want to, even think about that yet. But Javier could theoretically come back as early as next week. Now, do you think this Astros team a contender?
I think you have to refine what your definition of contender is to properly answer that question. Are we a contender to win the World Series? I don't know. Are we a contender for a playoff spot? Yeah.
So if we're a contender for a playoff spot, which I think we both would agree on that, isn't it time to have the best 26 guys
absolutely
on the roster?
Absolutely it is.
And that's the subject of my article today on Crawfish, was basically that we need to have an uncomfortable conversation about Christian Javier and Lance McCullers. Now, Ronel Blanco had 3 scoreless innings in his last rehab start. He's probably on the same, maybe basic timeline as Lance McCullers, maybe 2 or 3 weeks out. Now, I think, would you rather have Ronel Blanco or Mike Burrows?
I'd like to see what Ronell has.
I mean,
I'm more I'm more excited for Ronell Blanco's return because Burrows can move to the bullpen, right? Like we saw him work an inning of clean relief, and it maybe helped him out a little bit. I don't know. Or Ronell Blanco could work out of the bullpen too. Javier, I just think he doesn't throw enough strikes.
Blanco, I think, could move to the rotation, and Tongue can move to the bullpen very easily. But I think you and I probably, and I hate to do this because he's my boss, but we need to talk about an article, and I'm going to let you kind of fire this one up here real quick.
Yeah, I got it right here.
So Patrick, my boss, wrote an article about saying that Joe Espada deserved an extension. So number one, we got to outline his points. And number two, and I think probably the first question is, do you think he was serious, or do you think he's just trying to get clicks?
Okay, so I guess I'll take the outlining here. So essentially, he was looking at two key metrics as to why Espada is the statistical genius that he is. And number one is pinch hit success. And number two was getting out of a jam, like bringing a reliever in with runners on and the percentage of time that those runners score. And I think Espada was pretty decent in the pinch hitting success, and the team was middle of the road in the getting out of jam metric that they used. And I think he was serious because to me those were cherry pick stats, right? Like I don't think there's anything wrong with looking at a guy's success on calling upon a pitch hitter. I don't think there's anything wrong with looking at the success of calling on a guy to get out of a jam and how likely that happened. I don't think Espada necessarily makes the wrong call out of the pen initially. I think you and I would agree with that. I think where Espada has continued to be a fucking problem is that after you get out of that jam, he sends you back out again. And almost every baseball person in the world would tell you the amount of adrenaline that you extend to get out of those jams. You're wiped. You're wiped after that. You just got out of something tough. Let's go on to the next guy. But to me, with Espada, it's not that he picks the wrong guy to come out. It's not that they don't have success when they initially come out. It's that he doesn't have a feel for the fucking game to know when to get guys out after getting out of a jam. He continues to let them go back out and get back into another jam, which he then has to call on another reliever to come try and get out of. And so if you're 50-50, you still got yourself in the second one, and you could have been 1-for-1.
Well, I hate to do this, but I have to talk about, the stats end of it, because what I loved in the comments was this guy basically attacked me saying, like, you're going with your feelings and he's going with facts. And I'm like, you do realize I am the analytics expert on this site, right? And he says, no, you're just a fan. So, okay. I guess the 4 books I've written on baseball don't count. Okay, fine. But my problem is that what I would call his look at the stats for he brings in the right guy or he brings in the right pinch hitter, that's what I would call noise. And so what I mean by that is you notice he brings in another chart saying that Espada is 20th on expected results. And he just glances over that. He
very politely says that the roster is the reason for that.
Well, he just assumes that, well, it's because he plays his hunches and no, it's noise. It's fucking noise. And so whenever and I always evaluate managers based on what I would say, and use a big word here, folks, the efficacy of his decisions. So let's look at last night's 9-7 win. Was that a well-managed game, Tim?
No, and I texted you after we gave up the lead. This loss is on Espada because he made back-to-back poor bullpen decisions. Guy gets out of a jam, leaves him in, and then gets in another jam, and then we're calling on De Los Santos to come get us out of a jam.
Then we have Bryce Matthews coming up with the bases loaded and 1 out.
And we let him fucking hit.
He's got Loper Fido on the bench, and he goes and he stays with the human air conditioner.
Mm-hmm.
Who, I think Bryce Matthews probably could be a really good, like if you had a luxury resort, he would be the guy on the pool, like waving, keeping you cool, just, I think, he could really do a good
giant banana leaves.
He could do a really good job to it. But in all seriousness, I like Bryce Matthews as a guy. I like him as, a prospect. He's not a major league player at this point. And I saw a graphic. I don't know if you saw this one where it's like the most likely to break out in the second half. And they listed Bryce Matthews as one of the choices. Like, are you fucking kidding me? This guy, he strikes out 3 out of every 4 times when he's in the lineup. And occasionally he connects on one, and it goes about 500 feet. And I love it when it happens, but it just doesn't happen often enough. And so to me, when you look at a victory, I think what Patrick did is he made the mistake of looking at results versus looking at what is the likelihood that this call is going to work. And to me, when you're a manager, if you play the percentages, you have a built-in excuse if they fail when you go into the press, the post-game press conference. Why did you do that? Well, the percentages said this was the best move to make. It didn't work today. Versus the Lou Brown of, I know he hadn't done much against this guy, but I got a hunch he's due. It's like, that sounds lovely in Hollywood, but I don't want my manager doing that.
And I don't think Espada's that bad, right? I don't think he's Lou Brown bad. But I think
Lou Brown won a division.
Again, Hollywood. But I think some of these decisions are magnified. There was I can't remember which game it was, but it was a Friday night game you were at.
Yeah, the Milwaukee Brewers game.
Yeah, that game was solely on Espada's decisions, right? We pulled a win off last night because Loperfido hits a fucking tank and saves everybody ass with a catcher's interference call in the 9th inning. But at the end of the day, letting Bryce Matthews hit there was a fucking travesty, an absolute travesty. Loperfido is a much better major league hitter than Bryce Matthews is. It's night and day. And Loperfido doesn't strike out as much as Matthews does. He puts the ball in play pretty often. And so that was really, really frustrating. Then he does a fucking double switch and gets Loperfido in the 9 hole has Loperfido in the 5 hole, then brings Yiner out of the game and puts Christian Javier in the 9 hole. So what the fuck are you doing, man? You don't have a pitcher to do. Like, why are you double switching?
Well, and I called into his night show, on 610, and I was complaining about the Brewers game, and his response was he's never done that where he basically pinch hit for Trammell with Matthews. Well, guess what? He did it again. He pinch hit for Trammell and left, Matthews in the game when, he could have pinch hit for Matthews
and left Trammell
in the game, who had hit an absolute majestic fucking bomb
upper fucking deck tank shot, and you get pinch hit for, and we leave the guy who's 1 for 17 with 15 Ks in the fucking game.
And here's the thing that I think most people that I've talked to, and I don't think that Patrick brought up in his article or I brought up in mine, to be perfectly honest, because we don't know what happens in the clubhouse when the cameras aren't rolling. We just don't. Most people complain about the fact that Espada never complains about balls and strikes, never gets ejected. And my response to that is that does that really make things better? I mean, if you had Earl Weaver going out and kicking dirt on an umpire, would that make you feel better? However, we cannot ignore the fact in 2025 that he lets that Framber Valdez situation fester. He does not address it. Number one, he does not address it when he beams Cesar Salazar. But number two, from August 1st on, Framber was a guaranteed loss every time he took the ball. And you just kept giving him the ball. And and the whole thing is that, yeah, I can look at, globally a bunch of data, and I could say Framber Valdez was better than any pitcher that they could have thrown out there over the course of a career. But in the moment, he was in his own head, and he was not going to win baseball game. You lost out on a wild card by 1 game. You lost out on the division by 3. Can you tell me that in his last 10 starts, that if you'd started somebody else, that you would have lost every one of those games with another pitcher?
I mean, it couldn't have gone worse, right? Like it wasn't even tough luck losses. Like this was the worst Yiner had ever looked, which to me means Espada handled it in the worst way possible, right? Like if Fromber's that big of a head case, to me that means something is just looming out there fucking with Fromber. So it was never talked about and buried. It was never handled in a way that either guy could move past it. And to me, there's types of managers out there, right? There's at least the successful ones. There's the ego massager who can take an elite lineup and keep everybody happy, keep the trains on the tracks. And that guy's fine, right? The Phil Jacksons of the world. You need those kind of managers or coaches when you have the talent level and money involved that professional sports have, right? But then there's the other coaches, right? The other managers, the do more with less guys. The guys who take a Cleveland fucking Guardians team that no one expected to be good and have them in contention the last 2 years, Stephen Voigt, the Terry Franconas of the world, who has done it at multiple locations where he's just found ways to revive teams and inspire guys to be better as, a sum of the parts than they are as an individual, those kind of managers. And to me, Espada's at best maybe the first kind, right? Where I think if you gave him an elite lineup, if you give him the 2019 Astros, I think he'd be fine. I think he'd have no problem managing that team.
Well, shit, you and I could manage that fucking team.
But my point is, if you gave him one of those tough locker rooms with a lot of stars, I think that's maybe where he shines. But right now, we're in the get more from less, and I don't think he's got that in him. I don't think he's in tune enough to what's happening to know when to pull guys out of games, to know who to pinch hit for who. Like, yes, the guy may have got a hit, but now you're setting yourself up later that Bryce Matthews is still in the fucking game and not Taylor Trammell or not, somebody else. You pinch run for Yiner. I'm sorry, you pinch run for Jordan in multiple situations. You pinch run for fucking Christian Walker in tie games. It's 2 outs. In the 9th inning, you pinch run for Christian Walker with 2 outs in a tie game. Why? No one knows, but he did, right? And it just doesn't make any sense half the time he does this shit.
Well, what I would say is, I'm going to point out a couple of different things, right? You and I weren't doing this show when A.J. Hinch was managing. We did it when Dusty Baker was managing. And I think you and I would both agree that Dusty Baker was not the greatest tactician out there. However, Dusty Baker brought strengths to this thing that you and I both would have to acknowledge. Like post 2000, I mean, once you decided to get rid of A.J. Hinch, I don't know if there was a better person on the planet in that exact moment than Dusty Baker. Given what this team needed, right? And because he's good in the clubhouse, he's good at things that you don't see. I don't know that Joe Espada is. I think he's okay. But see, and if you go back in history, do you think Dusty Baker is allowing Fromber to do that?
Absolutely not.
Do you think AJ Hinch is allowing Fromber to do that?
No, but I don't think AJ Hinch had the ability to control him after saying, "Hey, we're not going to do that." I think Dusty has it. Like, again, Hinch told them to stop doing the sign stealing, and they went on with it anyway, right? So I think Cora probably is the one that has to pull Fromber aside there because I think there's that power struggle happening.
Do you think Bo Porter allows him to do that?
Get out of here.
And then, so you have to go back to Brad Mills, right?
Yeah, Brad Mills would get fucking dog walked by Fromber. You have to go back to like fucking Larry Durker because even Phil Garner, to me, now that I've said the name Phil Garner and may rest in peace, Astros legend, Espada and Phil Garner remind me of each other a lot. The World Series run in 2005 was filled with crazy, questionable decisions that in the moment you're like, what the fuck's happening? Or, what are we doing? And then you're like, okay, it worked out. Okay. But the whole way through, you're like, what the fuck is this guy thinking? And it kept working out. And it kept working out. We're batting Jeff Bagwell second, and we're DHing him. And okay, he gets a fucking hit. Okay, it's great. Willie Taveras, okay. It's like things just kept working out. But then in 2000, what happened in 2006, Scott, when those same fucking Phil Garner decisions played out again? Not quite as good. 2007, not quite as good. Enter Cecil fucking Cooper to the show because Phil Garner's out of there less than 2 years after being in the World Series. And to me, Espada is very, very similar. He had a decent run in 2024. Last year, not so good. This year, it's not looking so like some of those decisions just don't add up when you don't have everything fall your way.
And so I would say for me, the three things that pinpoint my problems with Espada. Number one, we talked about the tactical moves during games. Let's set that aside. Number three, this team is about 10 or 15 games under 500 in March and April with him as manager. That's a problem. Because your problem is now those Sunday fun day days when you're winning 97, 102, 105 games, who gives a shit if you surrender on a random Sunday, right? You can't surrender on a random Sunday anymore. You can't afford to win the first two games of a series and go in the last game of the series, we're fucking surrendering. We're playing everybody on the bench. You can't do that because in March and April, you're fucking around and you're losing most of your games. Now, last year, I think he finished around 500 in March and April, 24. And this year, he's in the freaking tank. So that's and so that points to, are you ready coming out of spring training? That's that opening question. Are you ready coming out of spring training? And so my other problem is, and this is organization-wide, this is not just Joe Espada, you have been the most injured team in baseball for 3 years in a row. You cannot, if you're Patrick, sit there and go, well, he had to deal with all the injuries and he did an admirable job. What role did he play in those injuries? Because you and I both know, because we were talking about it last year, that Josh Hader's shoulder problem was Joe Espada pitching him 2 innings way too many times. I mean, you had Jake Myers.
Jake Myers, run out in the fucking field, hurt.
Running out on the field, hurt. So if you want to sit there and say that's all Dana Brown, or that's all the training team, if you want to make that argument, you're free to. But I think the bigger issue is that how are you using guys? Like, didn't Okert go all 3 games this series?
I think so, at least the last 2.
So he's not available your next time out, right? And if he sits there and he goes a 4th time in a row and then winds up with an arm problem, you're just going to like, oh, poor Joey Espada has to deal with all these injuries, not taking into account his role in those injuries.
No, I couldn't agree more, Scott. I think that's a great way to look at it. And I think there's another point we have to look at is since the Dodgers series of in 2025 going in today, this team was like 63 and 83. Right? They have not been a good baseball team for nearly a full season now. They were terrible down the stretch last year. They're terrible to start this year. And are they digging out a little bit of it right now? Okay, yeah. But you've now got like 140 games or 150 games of not good baseball that Joe Espada has been at the helm at. And again, yes, injuries are part of the deal. But you know who wasn't injured was Fromber, and you couldn't find a way to get yourself situated there. Peter Lambert didn't start the season on the roster this year. Who makes those decisions coming out of spring training? Aaron Getty didn't start the season on the roster this year. Again, he's cooled off a little bit here lately, but still he's been one of the better arms. Tang was in the bullpen to start the year when Ryan Weiss is getting starts. There's just decisions that were made, that really are questionable. You can't sit there and tell me you watched every one of Christian Javier's spring training starts and tell me this guy was ready for the rotation. He was the epitome of 95-mile-an-hour line drives right at people. He got away with so much hard contact in spring training. It was ridiculous. So I think, there's too much of we got to give this guy the benefit of the doubt with Joe Espada. We also have to hold him accountable for what he's not good at. And even if we do give him the benefit of the doubt for the injuries, give him credit for the pinch hits, give him credit for the getting out of jams. He leaves pitchers in too long, period, whether it's a starter or a reliever. He constantly tries to get an extra inning out of guys and can't. He has little to no feel for some of those pitch hitters of who they're pinch hitting for. Like, it's great that they came in and got a hit, but would Tremello gotten that hit, and then you could have saved it for Bryce Matthews later on. And I just don't think he has the feel for the game in game that we need. Like, Dusty Baker, for all his faults, came playoff time. Hey, he had his trusted set of relievers. He had a game plan. He wasn't pinch hitting for guys. Like, Espada just feels the need just because he's down a run. Like, we got to pinch hit. We got to pinch hit. Everybody off the bench. Can't leave anybody on the bench. Like, I've never seen an American League team pinch hit as much as we do.
So I think that obviously a lot of things you talk about, the spring training decisions, obviously Dana Brown has a hand in that. We have to acknowledge that Dana Brown has a hand in that. Like, he has a hand in, oh shit, I gave Christian Javier this long-term deal, forking over a shit ton of money. He's got to have a spot in the rotation. Okay. Lance McCullers has, he's making $17 million this year. We got to find a spot for him. So, I think those things are happening. And then, of course, you have the whole, did you ever, I'm sure you watched the Monty Python Holy Grail.
I have.
I'm picturing, Dana Brown as a knight going up to the troll. What is your name, Dana Brown? What is your quest to find a left-handed bat? What is the land speed of a laden swallow? Laden swallow. Because he's been looking for a left-handed bat for how long now?
3 years.
And he's been all this like, we're not done. We're on the move.
What if that's the team slogan next year?
We're
instead of chase the fights, just we're not done.
We're not. So the last point on the Astros. And I've started this series on the crawfish boxes as well. I always like to call this the magic bullet. You can add one player at a position. So I'm going to give you a choice of starting pitcher, like a number 2 or number 3 level starting pitcher, a corner outfielder, probably left fielder or center fielder, or a setup guy relief pitcher?
I'll take a really good starter. And I think Loperfido should be playing more in left field. I think he is at least shown enough to get that job right now as a left-handed bat. And I think Tang could move to the bullpen. I think there's some other pieces that can move around if you go get a number 2. And if you want to win this division, you got to have consistent starts that give you a chance to win.
I think, yeah, I mean, I tend to agree. And, you know, because if you look at the numbers, Spencer Arrigetti's expected ERA is in the 4s. And so he is not a number 2 or number 3 starter. So do you feel comfortable going into, let's say we do the outrageous and we make the playoffs? Peter Lambert, there's your number 2 starter. How you feeling?
I mean, if he's been pitching like this all year, I feel pretty good. I mean, at the end of the day, his history doesn't matter anymore if you just put up a full season of that performance. I mean, Lambert's been fantastic. I thought Espada pulled him too early.
My fear with him is, remember when we go out and we go like, Scott Cashmere's having a great year, let's pick him up. And it was a mirage. And it didn't really work out that well. Of course, we picked up El Rato as well, you know, and that deadline. But the only thing, because my fear is that Dana Brown's going to look at, I've got Wisniewski, I've got Blanco. Those guys are coming back in August or maybe July. I've got the pitching. But they've stated, and this is what kills me, Tim. They've stated themselves that relief pitcher is their priority.
I mean, we definitely need some help there. I don't think that's wrong. You know what's shocking to me, Scott? As much as Espada needs a left-handed bat, as much as we need pitching, why weren't we in on Shohei? Right? If you need a pitcher, if you need a left-handed bat, Shohei was out there for $750 million a steal at that price.
Yeah. But I think if you look at, you cannot deny that center field offense has been a black hole. Jake Myers is not the 2025 Jake Myers. Gee, it was almost like both of us could have told you that going into the season. I don't know. Didn't we say that?
I think we both did say that earlier before the season started. Jake Myers had one good season. And if you look at OPS, it wasn't even that good of a season. He was a fucking punch and Judy hitter last year and had just enough stuff fall through. He hit near 300, then gets hurt, and that was that, right? So Jake Myers plays a fine center field. Don't get me wrong. But Loperfido could play center. I think Cam Smith could play center. I think Bryce Matthews plays a pretty good center.
Trammell can play center.
Huh?
Trammell can play center.
Yeah, Trammell could play center. Trammell's a better offensive threat right now, I think, than Jake Myers. So there's plenty of options, and it seems like Espada continues to go with the worst two, with a rotation of Bryce Matthews and Jake Myers, when both of those guys should be sitting. Trammell should be in center, and Loperfido should be in left. End of story.
I mean, unless you're facing a tough left-hander, right?
Sure.
You're facing a tough left-hander, yeah. You know, put in a right-handed hitter. That's fine, because I think Matthews' numbers against lefties are actually okay. But 80% of the starting pitchers in baseball are right-handed. So your lineup should not be featuring Myers and Matthews 80% of the time. I mean, that's just fact right now.
Yep. I think it's time to give some awards away, Scott. Who do you want to go pow right in the kisser to this week?
All right, so let me make sure I get this right. Okay, so my punch is that random commenter from, the article, from Patrick's article, who talked about, well, you're just a fan. And it's like, you need to be just a fan. And it's like, I'm spouting facts. Patrick is spouting facts. I mean, I guess they're cherry-picked facts. The best you could sit there and say is that both of us are cherry-picking our own facts. But they're still facts. They're numbers. They're evidence. But to sit there and go like, you don't know anything, it's like Patrick himself on his Facebook page says, I am the analytics expert of the site. I didn't call myself that. He called me that. So maybe trust the person who goes with the analytics. Maybe, you know, and this is a perfect example in our discussion about center field. There are just too many games where Espada does not put the best 9 out there. We are 4 games under 500 after tonight's win for the first time since when we were 8-12. This team is 3 games out of the division lead. I don't know how we did it. I don't know. I mean, we shouldn't be 3 games out because I'm sorry, having a team playing basically 500 baseball, be in first place in division shouldn't be, but you're there. And if you're going to be there, your manager needs to make percentage decisions. I'm sitting there pointing out what percentage decisions looks like. Well, you're just a fan. Okay, whatever, dude.
That's a good one. I like that a lot, Scott. I think there's nothing wrong with being a fan, but also there's nothing wrong with knowing what you're talking about, and you're paid to write on that site. You take, if anyone's ever read any of your work, it's pretty obvious that you take it from the analytical side. During the off season, you do some pretty deep analytical dive on guys. So I definitely think that's fair and good choice.
All right, who you got, Tim?
I want to punch. I guess it's the NFL. I want to punch the NFL in the face because at the end of the day, I'm not a Sorsby fan. I think this whole thing is ridiculous, but isn't this why the supplemental draft exists? Why is the NFL deciding that he's not worthy of it because he's trying to get away from punishment when that's exactly what Terrell Pryor did, isn't it? He was going to be suspended going into the season with Ohio State, so he decided to go to the supplemental draft, and he gets drafted. The kid from Baylor, the wide receiver who went to the Browns and couldn't start, Josh Gordon, right? Like he was about to be suspended going into the season, and he goes to supplemental draft, and he goes. So while I understand gambling on the sport is not good, you take a lot of money from DraftKings. You take a lot of money from all these DFS fantasy people. Fantasy sports is a huge part of the NFL, and people bet millions of dollars collectively. And this is where we draw the line. And I think Sorsby's kind of a douche. I think he handled it extremely poorly. But I don't think you get to just change the operating procedures because you don't like a guy. To me, it seems very holier than thou, Scott, with this whole sports gambling thing because they literally run fucking gambling ads in these games.
So, I mean, my thought there is number one, I can't remember who said it, but basically when your opponent is basically committing suicide, just step out of their way. So if the Jets or the Browns want to sit there and say, we want a piece of Sorsby, I mean, get out of their way. And if you want to sit there and say like, and if you want to be the NFL, you could sit there and tell them, hey, this guy's going to be suspended when he enters the league. And that's perfectly fair. I think he probably deserves to be suspended. But at that point, you're telling those teams, if you want to take a chance on this guy, like if you were a quarterback poor team, which I would think the Jets are, particularly when Geno Smith has gotten into his own legal hot water lately, would you take a chance on the guy just knowing he's going to be suspended for, let's say, 6 or 8 games? If you thought
Um,
if you thought he was starting quarterback potential.
Possibly. I think to me, a team like the Steelers would have been more intriguing. Like if you know this guy's gonna be out for 6 or 8 games, you know you've got Aaron Rodgers coming back for a year, so you're probably gonna be in contention for that division. So the odds are you're not gonna be picking where the good quarterbacks are gonna be. To me, that's the kind of team that takes advantage of a situation like this, but it doesn't matter anymore.
Well, like I'm saying, there are 32 teams, and there are 32 teams that are able to look at their situations and and given the evidence, are able to say we want to take a chance on this guy or we don't. Like, I hate to. Do you think that Sorsby is a better quarterback than our third string quarterback?
Yeah, but I don't think it's worth it to bring him in.
No, but I'm saying those are the kind of calculations that teams have to make. Is they have to look at their team, they have to look at their roster, and they have to sit there and they decide, okay, number one, is he better than what we got? And number two, do we want to take on the baggage of this guy? Is he that much better than what we got?
Right.
You pointed out the Steelers. The Steelers probably could stash him as their third quarterback and, not be, in any way. I mean, the Jets could stash him as their second or third quarterback. I mean, I think the Jets are probably – I mean, I wouldn't do it if I'm the Jets, just simply because if I'm the Jets, I'm going to go about 3-14 next year, and I'm going to have a top 5 pick, and I've got my pick of all those other quarterbacks that are in the draft. But if you take an average – like, pick out a random average team. So let's say, I don't know, picking out,
Minnesota.
Indianapolis.
Okay.
Indianapolis is an average team. Do you think that is he better than Anthony Richardson?
Yeah.
You could take a shot on that, knowing that you got Daniel Jones as your guy. So, I mean, there are teams that could do it. And if you're the NFL, the way this normally works, and this is why I think it's a good pick by you, is that you announce, hey, when this guy enters the league, he's going to be suspended for this number of games.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way you do it. And then every team gets to decide based on that, do we want this guy? And it's very highly likely that if he's suspended, let's say 8 games, that every team in the league says, no, thank you. That's the market taking care of itself.
Nope, I couldn't agree more. It's the rules are rules, and you kind of have to follow them. So, all right, Scott, let's go with our horse's ass this week. Who do you want to chase out of town?
I am chasing. We didn't talk about this. The NBA draft just occurred. The Rockets did add a guard, as you pointed out off air. Is he a point guard?
He's undersized. He's a defensive liability, and he's overweight. But we traded up to get him.
Well, I mean, can he pass the basketball? I don't know. That's I guess that's a good question. No, I am picking Rafael Stone, and here's why I'm picking Rafael Stone. It has nothing to do with this pick. He's a second-round pick. Second-round picks, as they're just by definition, are lottery picks. Sometimes they make your team. Sometimes they don't make your team. Bronny was a second-round pick. Is he a better basketball player than Bronny?
Probably.
So, okay, whatever, right? No, the reason why I'm picking Rafael Stone is that we had an article come out on trade rumors, NBA trade rumors, where he announces that now everybody on the roster is available in trade, except for maybe Amen Thompson and
He just said amen.
He said maybe Amen's not available. Maybe Kevin Durant is probably not available. Maybe Sengun is going to be difficult for it to get off our hands. But otherwise, the rest of the roster. But here's the funny thing, Tim. Why is the whole roster available? See, after the season, Rafael Stone said, I really like our roster. But apparently, he watched the Western Conference Finals and the NBA Finals, and he discovered, oh, shit, I don't have the roster to compete with those teams. Really? How many times did you play the Spurs this year, Rafael? Was it about 4? When were we like 1-3 against them? How many games did we win against the Thunder? I think we won 1, and we lost the other ones. The Knicks, I think we blew a lead against the Knicks in New York. That was kind of a famous, shit, you didn't have a point guard. Oh, shit. Or maybe our roster isn't looking as good as it possibly could. So here's this guy who goes the whole season I like our roster. I like our roster. Wait a minute. I actually watched basketball, and I don't like our roster as much. Now, does that mean that we need to run out and get Jaylen Brown? Yeah, I don't know. Does that mean that we need to go out and get, Unibrow? Fuck no. I mean, does that mean that we need to go out and get Kyrie Irving? But the point is that you did not have a handle on your roster until the Western Conference Finals and the NBA Finals showed you, oh, the Spurs are good at basketball. Oh, the Thunder are good at basketball. Oh, the Knicks are good at basketball. Huh? Who would have thunk? Never noticed. So what's going to end up happening is we're going to have Schrodinger's Fred VanVleet, because I know you're familiar with Schrodinger's cat, where we lost because we didn't have Fred VanVleet. Now, is Fred VanVleet a 20-10 point guard? No, never has been. He's more like a 15-7 point guard, probably at the very best if he's 100% healthy. Is he 100% healthy after he blows out a knee? We don't know. But we don't have anybody else. We have Reed Shepherd, who they seem to think is Steve Nash, except for Ime Udoka. Except for Ime Udoka, who's the one voice that matters in this situation because he doesn't play him at point guard. So who is your point guard on this team if Fred VanVleet's not on the floor?
Doesn't matter, Scott. You're asking the wrong questions, okay? You're asking Mike D'Antoni reinvented the game. Ime Udoka's going to do it too. Point guardless offense out there, baby.
But, I mean, I don't know if Ime Udoka has shared his opinion. I mean, maybe they were sitting around watching the boys and they finished the finale episode and went like, hey, you know what? The Western Conference Finals is on. You want to turn that on? Sure. And then, oh my God, these teams are good. I never knew.
Oh man! And then to top it all off with everything you said, they sold the second round pick they had for cash. 2 Cougars on the board available tonight, Scott. They come home with none. It's a team that claims they wanted toughness on defensive-minded guys to fit with what Udoka does. I don't think anybody fits that better than the University of Houston. Emmanuel Sharp is one of the best three-point shooters in the country. He can handle the ball. His dad's a high school basketball coach. He grew up around the game. He's exactly what the Rockets needed. Mark my words, this one was another miss, just like missing on Jamal Shed when I said that we should have taken him instead of Reed Shepherd. And Jamal Shed's about to be the starting point guard for the Toronto Raptors next year, while Reed Shepherd is Steve Nash 2.0 in a fucking chamber being made in a laboratory, I guess. I don't really know what's happening there.
Hey, and your boy Fleming gets picked by the Hawks.
That's another one. I think you're looking at a young Derrick Rose. He plays so much like Derrick Rose. He's downhill. He's fast. He's strong. He's a playmaker. He's a drive-and dish point guard. If the Rockets do anything smart, they go pick up Milos Uzan as an undrafted free agent and invite him to camp or get him to summer league because he's a point guard, a distribution first point guard. It's exactly what the Rockets need. He's a good defender. But hey, we don't do anything smart. So who the fuck cares?
All right, Tim, who you sending out of town?
I gotta look up this. Okay, Steve Lee, injury attorney. Steve Lee is my horse's ass this week. He had a commercial heavily featuring Jeremy Pena, fresh off another fucking injury for Jeremy Pena as he pulled his fucking hammy the other day in the game. And I think it was the same game where he had to get taken out for an injury. And it's just like, could you pick a worse guy to do this with as the injury attorney here? Why not fucking, it's like we talked about being a hand specialist and getting Jordan in there to fucking be your sponsor. Like, have a little understanding and wherewithal. I think the only thing you could have done worse is maybe have Lance McCullers be the guy as the injury attorney in Houston. But Jesus, Scott, like, immediately I was like, what the fuck? This guy's injured all the time, and you're the injury attorney? That's not a good look.
My favorite part of these billboards, Tim, is they got 100 of these around town. And not literally, they have like probably, a dozen of around town. You have a picture of Jeremy Pena on the billboard, and they put underneath paid spokesman, not an attorney. It's like, I thought that Jeremy I thought Jeremy, and my favorite one is the God, what's this guy's name?
Just imagine imagine the idea of Pena like every offseason just grinding in fucking law school, or even like during the season, he's just like on the road trip with a highlighter, just fucking going through law books, and everybody's like trying to play cards. He's like, guys, you shut the fuck up. I got a test tomorrow. Come on.
And you got like Terry Bryant has all these, and like if you go drive down Highway 3, Tim, it's like lawyer billboard after lawyer billboard. And so you got Terry Bryant, and you have a extremely attractive Hispanic woman on the billboard. And of course, underneath, paid spokesman, not an attorney. It's like, really? Really?
A woman in a bikini is like, not a lawyer. You don't say.
Well, she's well dressed, but I'm still like, and I'm not saying anything negative about her, because you don't have to be an attorney to be, to be a smart, capable woman. But, and they have Art Raskin on some of these other ones, who I think is one, a newscaster. And you're like, yeah, we know he's not an attorney. Thanks.
I just thought it was a terrible pick. I don't know. I think you could be the official injury attorney of the Astros without picking specific players to represent you in the ad, especially when we are the most injured team in baseball. All right, Scott, who are you tipping your cap to this week?
I was tipping my cap. I think we've just reached the halfway point of the Major League Baseball season. Jordan, I don't think we give him enough flowers, even though we give him flowers. The guy's on pace to hit 50 bombs. He's got the highest OPS in the league by a fairly significant margin. The guy, I think, is up to about 56, 57 walks on the season, including, I think, a baker's dozen intentional walks, where basically the offense is got to pray and you hope that Jordan comes up this inning. I mean, that's what the offense is. And yeah, he takes the occasional 0 for 4 because there's been no player in history that hits 500. But I remember I was telling Janet this the other night, where he was 1 for 4 with a walk in the game that we went to, a game we won, by the way, where Jose Altuve hits a 3-run bomb and then a double later on. Pena hits a couple of bombs. And I was like, what does this say when Jordan Alvarez is 1 for 4 with a walk and that's a bad game?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's totally remarkable. It's appointment television. And I don't know if you knew this, he's second in the All-Star voting, because fans across the country, this is not just Houston people stuffing the ballots. This is fans across the country saying, we want to watch this guy hit. And I don't know. I mean, there's a short list of guys that you want to tune in to watch hit. I think probably Shohei is a guy that everybody wants to watch hit, although he's not been great this year at the plate. He's been great on the mound. Aaron Judge is not healthy, but when he is healthy, that's pretty much, most people would say appointment television. I think that eventually Nick Kurtz could get into that category with a homeless team out there in California. But he's on the short list of guys. Maybe Schwarber's another guy because he's, basically like a 3 outcome guy. Like, if you had to pick a guy other than Jordan to watch hit, who would be like your number one on your must watch?
I don't know. That's tough. I think Schwarber's a good choice just because of the raw power that he has. But, Jordan's just must watch TV, right? Like, I think, like a lot of parents, I have almost every game on, but I don't have the ability to sit and watch all 9 innings all at once, right? Like I'm walking around and paying attention, I'm popping back in. But when Jordan's up, I stop and I watch Jordan's at bats. Like I don't miss Jordan's at bats. And so the guy's just unbelievable. And I think that's a great hat tip, Scott.
All right. Who you got, Tim?
I want to hat tip Kelvin Sampson. Last night was a pretty big night for the University of Houston Cougars. You mentioned Kingston Fleming going 8 overall. But number 27 overall, Chris Senek to the Boston Celtics was also the University of Houston Cougar. And it was just the 4th time in the history of our school that we've had 2 players picked in the first round. Now, 2 of those 4 have happened in the last 4 years with Kelvin, especially at the helm. You had Sasser and Jarris Walker a few years ago. And then you had tonight, you had or last night you had Fleming and Senak. And so for when I got to UH, I still remember going to a game. I was one of like 7 people in the Hoffines Arena. The chair I sat down in was broken and only one of the hinges worked. And so it went like that. And I had to go find somewhere else to sit. It smelled of mold. It was a dump. We got our fucking asses handed to us that night. And we were bad. And so it's unbelievable to look back at it now here 10, 12 years later during Kelvin Sampson's reign. And this man has just completely changed the University of Houston.
So you weren't in favor of the clubbing baby seals, Clyde Drexler era there at U of H?
No, not a fan. Not a good one.
I think that's a good hat tip because did anybody end up picking any Cougars in the second round?
I didn't end up looking. I just saw that we gave our pick away or traded our pick away for cash. A lot of people think that means we're going to make a move of some sorts, but we shall see. Let's see here. 2026 NBA draft. End of draft. Let's look at the second round. I'm looking for Emmanuel Sharp went to the Kings, and no one picked Milos Uzan. So Sharp goes to the Kings.
That's 3 guys, from a college basketball team. And this is probably the most loaded U of H has been since the Phi Slama Jama days, which, I don't know if you ever had 2 first-rounders back then. I mean, Elijah one was a first-rounder and Drexler was a first-rounder, but those were back-to-back years. And so I don't know. I know that you had some fringe NBA guys like Alvin Franklin was kind of a fringe NBA guy. Michael Young was a fringe NBA guy. Misha was a fringe NBA guy. But yeah, it's absolutely loaded, and yeah, I mean, and he's got more guys coming in.
Yeah.
And that's the whole beauty of it.
Yes, he does.
And it's he's made it a destination, to go watch college basketball in Houston, which, and the landscape of Houston. You have to want to go watch games at U of H for most parts of Houston, any sport, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's an effort to get there. Yeah, particularly from the Clear Lake area. But, if you were living in, say, Sugar Land, or if you're living in, say, Kingwood or that area, Katy, that's a long trek to get there to watch basketball or football.
It is, Scott. All right. It is that time for our scumbag of the week. Who do you have for us this week?
I am working on one Dana Brown. And I unfortunately I can't kick 2 people out of town. I wanted to kick Raphael Stone out of town, but I think both of these guys are in the same kind of general boat. And it's more of this, I want a left-handed bat. And it's like, stop talking to the press. Just stop. Yeah, and if you're Jim Crane, why do you keep sending this guy back out to the microphone? And his thing is like, and so the latest thing was that 10 teams inquired on Jeremy Pena. And so he's saying we're not selling. And our number one priority, Tim, is a relief pitcher. Now, I agree, Tim. I agree. Having somebody better in the eighth inning than your lefties, Okert and King, okay. Do I want De Los Santos pitching the eighth? No. But you're probably your fourth best relief pitcher is in fucking Sugarland right now when they sent home Santa for reasons I'm not exactly sure. So you have probably a pretty good reliever in the rotation in Tongue, excuse me. So why is that your number one priority? Now, if somebody gives you a good relief pitcher for very little, yeah, take it. But I don't want this team expending major capital to address the bullpen when your outfield offense is the worst in fucking franchise history. It is the worst in franchise history. Your outfield on base percentage is the worst in franchise history. That's particularly true on days when Jordan is DHing, which is most days. Your rotation is throwing out Tatsuya Imai, who has an ERA over 6. He's throwing out Mike Burrows. Good start today. Love it. But he has an ERA in the mid-5s. Leads the American League in bombs surrendered. Clearly, a starting pitcher is probably a priority over the relief, over the bullpen. Clearly, outfield offense is a priority over the bullpen. So I just don't get it. Get this guy away from a microphone. Every time he comes in front of a microphone, he sounds like a bigger idiot. So there you go.
I tend to agree with you. I'm not a Dana fan. I try to give him a strong benefit of the doubt, but I tend to agree with you. I'm going to go with the USGA, Scott. I thought they made the course too easy early in the tournament. I thought syringing water into the greens early in that tournament kind of allowed guys, especially Wyndham Clark, to just go off on Thursday and just hold on for dear life till the end. And, you know, I think the tournament was only interesting because he fell apart towards the end. He did hang on, but also secondary scumbag to Long Island golf fans as they continue to be the worst. They sucked in the Ryder Cup, and you had a fan literally escorted in handcuffs off for berating Wyndham Clark. And look, I don't like Wyndham. He's probably one of my least favorite PGA Tour pros. I was actively rooting for him to lose that tournament, but I'm not going to go fucking yell shit at him. I'm going to sit there. I'm going to root for, I think it was Sam Burns who was making a run, right? So I'm just going to root for him. I'm not going to go sit there and yell at somebody else, right? Like it's golf. It's not baseball. You want to sit in right field and yell, you suck at Shohei Ohtani. That's your prerogative. Go for it. But you don't do that at the golf tournament. And just Long Island golf fans fucking suck, man. They really do.
Yeah, I noticed there wasn't a whole lot of drama there. And I never want to see a guy lose a tournament that way. I'd rather watch a guy win a tournament. Like, to me, like, you think, like, go back to my youth, Jack Nicklaus just making an absolute fucking run in 86. That's how I want to watch, you know, and in my youth, the guy was Greg Norman, who never did win a major, and, you know, or maybe he did. Did he win a PGA? I can't remember, but could never win an important major because he was always, you know, like you had Larry Mize chipping in at the Masters and just, you know, strange shit would happen to him. My favorite was actually not even a major. Do you remember Robert Gomez?
No, I don't.
So Robert Gomez was a rookie on the tour. This is back in the late 80s, early 90s, because they made a big deal of the fact that his favorite music artist was Tone Loc, if that kind of gives you an idea.
Mm-hmm.
He's 176 out on the last hole of the tournament. Norman is up 1. Gomez cans it and wins. And you're just like, I mean, if you're Norman, you're just like, what the fuck? You know, but again, it's, you know, golf, golf's a different game. And I don't, and if you're out there, are you actively rooting against the people you're playing with?
No.
No.
Depends. Yes. I'll be honest. Yes, I am.
Now, the one time I can remember is I did this to my dad, where he was putting on top of the green, and the hole is uphill, so he's putting downhill, and he putted it just a titch bit too far, too hard, and ended up with 80 yards left because it kept rolling down the fairway. And I think I may have actually fallen on the ground laughing, but that's Dad. You can laugh at Dad, but otherwise, like strangers, I'm not fucking laughing at them or
no.
I mean, what are we doing?
All right, Scott, let's move it on to our special comment section. This is a reminder to everybody that if you do not want to hear our special comment section, we'll be laughing at some of the stupid political quotes of the week. Great opportunity for you to hop out right now. If you do want to hear it, hey, we'll see you shortly. But here it comes, Scott. It's your turn this week. What are your quotes this week?
All right, so do you want to go Trump or non-Trump?
Let's start Trump.
Okay, so there are two with Trump. This is a heavyweight bout, Tim. And I know you have opinions on this. So round number one, I would say the betting favorite is the entire reflecting pool nonsense. Now, to set this for the crowd, did anybody ask for the reflecting pool to be repaired?
No, he just kept talking about how bad it was.
Okay, so he starts off, it'll be $1 million to get the pool done. How much did it cost to get the pool done, Tim?
$14 million, Scott.
Okay, so he hires a guy who says he's a pool guy. He's really a donor who had pled guilty to two different charges, campaign finance and trying to bribe Congress. And so this is the guy that he brings in. And so he, number one, and this is where we start to get into, I think, elder abuse, Tim, because Trump wants to paint it turquoise. But here comes this guy. No, I got it for you. American flag blue. So we drain the reflecting pool and we paint it blue. Now, I know you know a little bit about pool science, Tim, so let me ask you, what happens when you paint something that dark blue?
Love to hop in here, Scott, as a pool owner and someone who keeps his pool algae free for 2 years now. When you darken the color of the liner or the paint, what that's going to do is absorb that sunlight more. And what that does is warm the water. And what that does is make the algae bloom faster. And when you fill it with water from the fucking Delaware that's high in phosphate, that water is going to bloom like a goddamn fucking science project, Scott.
Okay, so we don't stop there, Tim. That's just round one of the reflecting pool. So round two is, oh shit, we got to kill the algae. So they decide we're going to go along the edges of a reflecting pool. Now, does the water, is there waves in the reflecting pool, Tim?
No, I don't believe it has a full filtration system, Scott.
So the water is pretty still because the whole idea is it's supposed to fucking reflect the sunlight. That's the whole idea of a reflecting pool, right? Are you with me here?
I'm with you.
So they pour hydrogen peroxide,
which is not what you use. Again, you use fucking chlorine to kill algae, Scott. Chlorine.
Although, I think you have wildlife in the reflecting pool. I think, maybe the chlorine kind of kills the wild. But, be that as it may. So when you use hydrogen peroxide, it might kill the algae that it's in contact with. But what else does it do, Tim?
It destroys the paint job that you just put in there, Scott.
Yeah, it is used in paint strippers. It is one of the key ingredients. Okay, that would be round two of our reflecting pool problem.
And that would be good if that was it.
That would be good if that was, if it was it, it would be just like a kind of a funny har har har. So because our president, and how much did they spend on the hydrogen peroxide, by the way?
I don't know, but I saw someone who did the math. It would have taken 3,000 gallons of chlorine to shock the reflecting pools, what they actually needed to do, because they didn't even use near enough. They were going around the edges with gallon fucking jugs of hydrogen peroxide for like a 60,000 gallon pool.
All right, so it cost over $1 million, by the way. That treatment of the hydrogen peroxide, it was over $1 million. So
I doubt that, but I'm sure it cost the taxpayers $1 million.
No. I'm saying the cost to taxpayers was.
Yeah, I don't. Do you know how much fucking hydrogen peroxide $1 million would buy you?
Oh, I'm sure, but I'm just saying the cost to us was over $1 million, because I'm sure there's some graft in there. We know that. So here's what happens. So the paint starts stripping. And so we have an Olympic cyclist who's, by the reflecting pool, picks up a piece of the peeled paint. He's been arrested, Tim, in addition to 4 other people. And they are now, our president of the United States is saying that all of this happened because of sabotage. Now, he went from, it was 100 feet to 200 feet to 250 feet to 350 feet of paint that was cut out of the reflecting pool. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. But don't you think that the cameras that are there 24/7 would have noticed somebody like swimming in the water with a box cutter just cutting out a shit ton of paint?
Yeah. And also Trump said that this paint job was so good that you couldn't even cut it with a knife.
For 50
but
years.
Now he said that they went in and cut it with a knife.
It's going to last 50 years.
Yeah. They didn't do that. It's a shit job that's coming undone, and people who are noticing it are being blamed for it, because God forbid people are aware that the mess that Trump pointed out that needed to be fixed was only made worse by Donald Trump. Fucking shocker.
Yes, and it cost us $15 million in the process.
All right, Scott. Number 2, what do you got?
Number 2, I'm guessing we're just going to call it Fecalgate.
Oh God.
So apparently at the G7, they've shown video of all your other G7 leaders kind of backing away from Trump, kind of putting their hands over their nose. And reportedly at the very end, he's sitting by himself. All the other G7 leaders are basically talking amongst themselves. And particularly we had the little rift with the Italian prime minister. Mm-hmm. And she is shown just visibly disgusted. So then we had him making a speech in front of Marco Rubio and I think JD Vance. And there is a very audible, wet sounding fart noise. And it was in the middle of one of his unintelligible comments about Iran, which at this point, the Senate, God love the Senate. Did you see that they passed that, the war resolutions bill that the House passed?
Yeah.
After they supposedly have a peace agreement, which is only an agreement in principle because it's supposed to take 60 days to negotiate. And of course, Israel keeps bombing Lebanon. So, Iran left the table. But this isn't a pure, and I have to say this, Tim, and I think you and I have talked off air. I think I'm not going to speak for you, but I'm going to let you speak on this if you choose to. It's been well noted that I've got digestive issues around the family. I was diagnosed with IBS, and I go to a gastroenterologist fairly regularly, and it's just kind of alternating bouts of constipation with diarrhea, and so there's some potentially spotty moments that have been near misses, right? I'm sure you've had those. So I feel bad about making fun of an older guy who's having incontinence issues, except for the fact that there is not a single person or any situation that he will not make fun of and will not say something derogatory about.
No, you're right there. And I will come out and admit I am a fellow IBS haver as well. And I told you off air, I'll say it on air. I have very few like hard, strict rules in my life. One of those, I will not shit my pants. I will shit almost anywhere that is not my pants. I have and will pull onto the side of the road in high grass and hold on to some grass and let it go in the grass, wipe up with some of my kids' fucking wet wipes and move on. That is better than my pants. So I say this because I think it's okay to laugh at him. And I'll never forget my grandfather, we sent him on a trip to visit his brother. And my grandfather at this point was not exactly mentally sound. But, you know, the brother was supposed to be waiting for him at the airport, all this other stuff. So we go to Hobby. And because my grandfather's got some handicap issues, we're able to go to the gate to get him, right? And this is after 9/11. And we noticed people coming off the plane reacting very similar to, say, how the Italian prime minister did. There's a lot of gagging, and there's a lot of, like, the moment they reach, like, the fresh air of the airport terminal, like, suck it in, like, oh, my God, like, just getting it all in. And my mom and I are just like, what the fuck is happening? And then here comes my grandfather, and he has shit himself in a major way on this plane. And when I saw the G7's reaction to Trump, all I could think of was how these people on the plane reacted to fresh air for the first time in 2 hours after sitting near my grandfather in his soiled fucking pants. And I still laugh at that. So I don't think we're the wrong. And I think I'm voting for shitting yourself, because I think it's unfair that these leftists are being put in jail and there's people doing, like, there's harm being done. No harm, no foul with Trump shitting himself. It's just absolutely hilarious because he can't stop fucking doing it in important giant meetings. Like, imagine the biggest fucking meeting you've ever had in your life, and you shit your pants and you just keep fucking going.
All right, Tim. I'll co-sign that with you. Now, for the non-Trump category, I also have two nominees, unless you want to throw one in here that you may be aware of. So, round number one, your favorite Fox commentator and mine, Jesse Waters.
God, are we supposed to fuck more again?
No. Apparently, fudge is gay.
What? I fucking love fudge.
So, here's my question, because he also said that sucking out of a straw was gay, although he's been seen sucking out of a straw. So I just have one request of Jesse Waters and those who follow Jesse Waters. Can we get once a definitive list of what is gay, so we can just kind of avoid those things if we care? I personally, I don't eat fudge because, well, I'm diabetic, and I limit my sugar to things that I absolutely 1000% enjoy. But it's not gay. I don't. It's an inanimate object. I don't know. It's kind of like how rainbows can't be gay. So that's nominee number one, Tim.
I like it. I'll take it. And it's always these super masculine guys who claim to be the experts in what's fucking gay, right?
So nominee number two is your vice president and mine, JD Vance, who is, talking with the press, and he comes out and he says that Donald Trump is a very high IQ individual. In fact, he thinks he has the highest IQ, or one of the highest IQs, of any of our presidents. And I'm sorry, maybe, did y'all ever read The Emperor Has No Clothes when you were a kid?
Yeah, I definitely did.
At what point are you just debasing yourself? J.D. Vance, to me, is a embarrassment as a human being, as a man. Because here's a guy who's married to a person of Indian descent, who is a practicing Hindu. And when he talks about his children, they're not his children. They're her children. So what does that tell you, Tim?
That they're not Christian.
He's ashamed of his kids. He's ashamed of his wife. And his wife kind of goes along with it, even though she's got, I think, 2 master's degrees. She was was clerking for, a couple of Supreme Court justices, was head of the law review at Yale University. So, I mean, we're talking about an intelligent woman who has subjugated herself. And, that's just a whole other thing. But to me, how do you sit there on national TV, on camera, and tell me that Donald Trump has a high IQ? Here's the guy that thinks that magnets don't work in water. Here's the guy that, water is very wet in the sense of moisture. This is a guy that said we could walk from Qatar to Iran. Although maybe he can if he's Jesus and like he is in the meme. Here's the guy that paid $15 million, counting the 14 plus 1, to turn the reflecting pool into an algae swamp with paint peeling everywhere because somebody talked him into American flag blue. At this point, we were laughing at Trump. It's getting to the point where it's not funny anymore. It's getting to the point where having people defend him and talk about how great he is, it's not entertaining anymore. It's not funny anymore. It's pathetic. I don't. So it's not, it's not like the guy was, going with erection connection. I mean, that was legitimately funny. I don't know that Vance saying that Trump is a high IQ individual is funny on that level, but it is pathetic.
No, it's definitely the winner this week, but I don't think it's enough to overtake what was in front of it.
I can't remember, what do we have in front of it?
I'd have to look again, but I don't want to. But it's definitely not a repeat winner, Scott. But I do think the idea that Donald Trump is a high IQ individual. I think the other thing that's high in that man is his fucking cholesterol.
Well, among other things, to me, if you wanted to go in the poly market, what are the odds that he survives this term?
Dude, fucking evil people never die when they're supposed to. They live on hate and they last forever.
But this guy, they at the G7 conference, they basically had to sit there and tell him where to go, and he was going in the wrong direction. And so you had G7 leaders basically pull him and tug him and kind of push him in the direction he's going to go. And then he goes and sits down. I'm the boss. This chair's too low.
Dude, Mitch McConnell's had like 15 strokes. He looks like he almost died in public 3 different times, and he's still fucking going along. These evil motherfuckers just live forever.
But yeah, I think the reflecting pool is more of a, what did we, trying to remember in literature, is a motif and extended metaphor, basically.
It's a what? I'm sorry?
Is a motif an extended metaphor?
I'd say so.
I think the reflecting pool is a motif for basically this entire administration. Do shit that nobody wants done because you determine that you alone can fix it. You make it worse. And instead of saying, oops, I made it worse, you create this conspiracy theory that a 3-year-old could see through. And the sycophants are like, yeah, on Fox. Oh, yeah, it's sabotage. Yeah. All
right, Scott, I think that's going to do it for us. We've got our winners. We'll see if I don't think Vance is going to be a repeat winner, but we'll see if Trump can get beat next week, or probably just shit his pants again in public.
Well, just a reminder, I am out next week, so it'll be
that's right.
2 weeks until our next show.
Well, I got a lot of time to gather some good quotes, but until then, we appreciate everybody who joined us, and we will see you next time on Born on the Bayou Sports.